7. We did complete the LEAP application. That's a 4-county application for a $1 million grant that's going towards coordinating what manufacturing needs in these 4 counties. With most of that money going through volunteer state. It's the financial arm for going to the technology center here. There's multiple ones submitted, but I think we have a real good chance of at least getting $500,000 on that. And Tammy and I sat down this week and last week began to figure out what areas we need to be working in, and certainly this education program is going to be part of that. So we'll see what happens there. They will make that decision within the next 30 days on the LEAP application. Continue to work with Mount Juliet, Jones Lane style, on the Under Armour project. Down at the end of the activity sheet, we did do the pilot through the industrial board. That's completed. The Jones Lane LaSalle, the consulting group, the incentive group is trying to get everything under contract and understood. I think the city of Mount Juliet now understands what their responsibility is in managing the grant. And that's also working with the development board, the Mount Juliet Wilson County Development Board on that $200,000. So it's beginning to get sort of hammered out as to where that money is going to be spent. We still have to work with 4 Lakes, Mayor Hutto, and commit right on maybe reimbursing the county on the impact fee, which we said we could use up some of that money, that $50,000 grant. We haven't done that yet until they actually run some numbers. I think probably at the end of the day where we said we might spend up to $50,000 on impact fees that the county's going to charge them. I think about $32,000 is all that we'll probably have to make a commitment to.
What part of the grant is this?
During the last days of negotiation, Under Armour and the state came back and said, what else can you do? And the development, Wilson County, Mount Juliet Development Board in there said, we'll do $200,000 of abatement of fees. And that's sewer, impact, design fees, things of that nature. That's how they're going to use theirs. We looked at what the county was going to charge them on top of impact fees. And really the only thing we could come up with was the adequate facility tax. So we said, okay, we'll put a $50,000 line item in there that we'll go to 4 Lakes and see if they will fund that for you. Charlie Lyons said that's an eligible expense. There's about $50,000 to $60,000 in that account, even building the sign at Watertown. We did $10,000 a year. We hadn't done anything except the sign in Mount Juliet. So there's going to be another $25,000 or $30,000 left on that account. Wilson County is going to come and ask for that to be granted over and pay for the impact fee, adequate facility tax.
And that can, we got to be discovering if we're ready to go at that time.
It needs to come through here first, and I think we can wait and get it done in April. I don't think there's going to be another county fee that's going to be associated with it, but they're wanting to use it for other things. I said, no, our letter said it would be only for fees charged by the county. So we're still, they understand that now. They've had a lot of problems understanding state grants. $908,000 from TDOT. They just took that off their bottom line, and now TDOT saying, yes, but $48,000 goes back to us for inspections and designs and supervision and that stuff. And Jones Lane LaSalle was saying, oh, wait a minute, you give us less. It's not necessarily Under Armour, it's that incentive group now that's either get a percentage of the savings or something, or feel like they have to be doing their work. But there's a lot of that going on with the ED grant from the state, that 6.9 million, or $1 million TDOT grant.
Is Four Lakes replenishing that 25 every year, right?
Is it 25 or 10, Mayor? I think it's 10 each year.
10 a year for 5 counties, each county.
Yeah.
Okay, they're gonna replenish it every year?
They do.
I just wanna make sure it wasn't gonna all run out before I threw my line out. So-
You need a sign?
No, I don't wanna spend money on a sign.
Okay, but that's what we've done, on a sign from Mount
Can you
Juliet,
come
a
up
sign
with
from
something more?
Watertown.
Okay. Well, that's what I just wanted to make sure it was something that's gonna be replenished so that it, you know. look
I
like-
think after this
I
year,
want it to be something that's, you know, that's important for the community too.
But I mean, the money's there, Rod, correct if I'm wrong, the money's, we put the money out there so that each county
Yeah,
could
but-
gain more economic development.
You know, what I was wondering is it something that they're gonna put out in budget every year, another 25? That's good.
Well,
That's good.
there's one little qualifier on it, is that comes out of an appropriation
Yeah,
from the
I
state.
understand.
And appropriations from the state can be
I understand.
modified.
But Four Lakes in a lot better position than what.
they were recertified or reauthorized with it last year, so
At least
again, the
that-
funding can always be changed.
From my
but-
perspective.
Mayor, we should have about $30,000 left in that account after this is done, somewhere around that, I would think.
I didn't think it was that much, but it makes
Well, I think we got 50 in there right now,
We had 60 to begin with, we just hadn't spent, we hadn't used any yet.
taking away the Watertown and this, you still, yeah, so I think that's about what I should have been in our account.
It was thought when it started, it'd be for things like, you know, you needed to go survey a piece of property to make it more attractive, or you needed to do an environmental survey before you had a buyer, or things like that.
Phase
But,
one and stuff.
sort of evolved into signs.
That's fine.
We did meet with the Under Armour group a couple of times. I did go to Baltimore and actually met Kevin Blank, the owner of, creator of Under Armour. He's about 45 years old, worth a lot of money. Did meet with the
What
senior,
is his name, David?
Kevin Blank.
About Kip or Kevin?
Kevin Blank is the,
Kevin Blank.
yeah, Plank.
Plank.
With a B, yeah. We did have them down this month with their HR group and had all the people around this table. They are posting jobs online now for the senior people. Their schedule on that is to be on half of the building by the end of April and set equipment. They intend to be fully operational by October of next year. Probably about 300 or 400 folks. And then from that, probably 500 or 600 the next year. And, you know, about the third year, they'll have most all their, they should have all their folks there. Their rush time is not Christmas. Their peak time is January, February, when they're shipping out all their stuff to the schools and to academy sports. It's more of a summer, springtime rush than it is in
Who you saying, I'm sorry?
it's Under Armour. Yep.
That worked good with Amazon.
They temporary
Temporary,
workers, one to
you just
the
move
other.
over, yeah.
Yeah, but that's, I didn't realize that. Their electronic, I mean, all their e-commerce stuff is still done out of Baltimore. And you can see what increases in e-sales are going on out here during this season. They will move a fair amount of that down if they do their other building. But right now, all their e-commerce stuff is staying in Baltimore, but their next building, a lot of that will be coming down here. That's sort of where they are. I'm sure the rain is not good for them, but I mean, the site down there is really changed. If you drive by there, there's a lot of space out there that's flat. But they have ordered all the material handling equipment, all the software programs, so they're pretty aggressive. They will being down here quite a bit in the HR folks. And we talked about letting you guys be involved in, sort of like what they did with Beretta. You know, our first hiring job fair will be in 30 days, but we're doing announcements, and so they're putting together that process of how to people that's interested in what's going on, make sure they know what the process is gonna be. They will work through the state and the Career Center. My understanding is the Career Center here has a contract for that space where they are through March. Mayor, do you know if they're gonna be moving over to the TCAP Center? I think they have space there, right? I should know that for sure, but I don't. But I know their lease is up for renewal in March where they are. Paul Haynes implied the other day that they'd be moving, but I'll
We
find
talked
that out.
yesterday, after he called and kind of filled me in. But now that piece didn't come up.
Okay, maybe I'll check on that.
Yeah,
But
I didn't do that.
I think their long-term desire is to be over the Career Center too.
Yes.
Yeah. So they were at the table, Department of Labor, how do you qualify employees if they're out of work? Does the state reimburse them? And that's part of that $2.5 million of training incentives and stuff that the Department of Labor is doing. We're still working with sort of an interesting group that has that high-end apartments out here. Mayor Craighead, they've found a couple more pieces of property. They're doing more due diligence, and that's lifestyle, like to be on the rail. We'll see what happens there.
They went back in for a second visit the other week.
Yeah, they just, yeah, so we'll get going now. We did do our Christmas mailing. We did use cheesecakes out of Mount Juliet as our vendor. We also used Corlett out of Watertown to do all the packaging. We did 58 different packages to those folks that have located projects here, consultants that have been through here. I just don't send it out to everybody. That's about a $40 package or something like that. One thing it does make us do is make sure our consultant list is up to date. But I think that's a good thing to do. We need to be reaching out to these folks more. These executive committees for the SBA loans, Mayor, you got me and Dr. Paul Stum on that. It takes an effort to get down there, but we'll approve 4 or 5 loans. Some of those in Wilson County, not many of them, but a lot of them going on. In paper, perma-prod expansion has been covered. Expansion project will be in the paper. What we're trying to do is just make sure people sort of know what's going on, and we'll continue to do that. New servers that work. We don't have a residential server here anymore. We actually have a business server. Telephone systems work. If I know how to transfer a call, that may not ever happen, but for the most part, Tammy and them will certainly know what's going on. Stuff that we should have done years ago. We both did attend the governor's conference. We did receive the 3-star plaque award. There's another one of those 3-star meetings with Sue in transition over at the chamber. I guess Tammy and I'll be doing that again unless somebody just wants to take it on. But again, the advantage is any grant, it's 5% less match for them. So if it's a $750,000 grant, that means it's $35,000 for either the city or the company. So we'll continue to do that. I don't think there's anything really more significant out there except on the industrial board. We did talk about Under Armour pilot being in the process, approved by the board. Also, Novamet was accepted by the industrial board. That's over at the Toshiba building. They are having an open house on December the 18th at 3 o'clock. Mayors, if y'all, that's December the 18th at 3 o'clock. I hope you guys got invitations. Anybody like to go up there and see what's going on inside the building? They have Novamet has moved not only their manufacturing operations, but they've also moved their transportation group over there, which is another about 20 employees. So they continue to consolidate their stuff.
We really dodged a bullet for that. That's not, the Toshiba thing could have really been a burden on them. Nobody would have really come
You
along.
never know what's coming down the road. I mean, you could sit on it for a few more years, but this group has come in and spent a lot of money renovating and roofs. And how long does a building go before it's really not worth much? And we're sort of heading in that direction because Toshiba's been out of it even quite a while. So I think it's a good story for us. We're going to do an article on that sometime, just out of the ashes or something like that. But you've got, you know, Moscow Deli's over there, and you've got drive time. Yeah, you've got them. You've got the trucking industry, and we got about 280,000 square feet, and about 40,000 square feet of office, something like that. That's marketable. I mean, their rates are very competitive. So I think it's a good piece of property to be working with.
There's a lot of that track, floodplain problems.
Pretty much 2/3 of that big parking lot, everything in the back is in floodplain.
You can cut and fill, you could cut and fill part of it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and he's
It's down in the
open.
flood.
He's open to do almost anything. If you haven't met Jeff Peterson, if you could go by and meet him, he's a real supporter of the community. And the chief finance officer, you know, a bunch of those folks moved down here. He's over at Hamilton Springs, and he's building a house in Mount Juliet. So there's quite a few of those people being in the community. If you want me to, Mr. Chairman, I'll just go ahead through the projects. You know, again, we're not going to tell who these companies are. If you want to come talk to me, we can. We do have one of our major distribution operations that's been here for 20+ years. Have about a $36 million expansion. About $8 million of that's going to be in equipment. They're one of our higher payer DC centers. They do have a consulting group involved, so, you know, sometime down the road, do we look at what we do for an $8 million pilot for them. That may be the case. KHS is in consideration down at Mount Juliet to bring on another line of products that would be 40, 50 more employees. If they can buy that, that's what another. You know, they're banned in instrument distribution, but they've got an opportunity to bring another company here. Mayor, they're not asking for anything. They really wouldn't qualify for anything. So there's a project that came to us and said, what can you do? And we looked at the numbers and say, it's not anything there, and we'll talk about that today. Kenny's not here, but we got a major company looking at the Campbell Hospital building this month, stamping operation. Down in Mount Juliet. These other ones are what we responded to. I did take a look. To date, we've done 110 formal responses this year. That's, you know, they'll average 2 a week. And formal being packages. It's just not somebody calling and say, do you have a building, or what do you have? We've done 110 to date. The active projects, there's an industry in Middle Tennessee that's in 2 buildings. Their distribution. So they're also going to be adding a couple 100,000 square feet. They're about 500,000 square feet in 2 buildings in Middle Tennessee. They're going to consolidate, build a 700,000 or 800,000 square foot building. We've got 2 pieces of property under consideration down at Castle Pike. Rutherford County has 2 pieces. As it says, somewhere next month, I'm going to have to do something about what does the community do. I don't have their numbers yet, but it's probably somewhere in the $60, $70 million type project. I don't know if the developer wants to go through the real property, pass that on, but there certainly will be a personal property pilot they'll ask about, which is a major stamping operation like L&W. They'll have a 50 or 60 ton press down there. Echo has been a project that's gone back and forth. I did have a meeting with them and the state and the TVA last week of Thanksgiving. They have narrowed it down to our community in Tennessee only. So they will consolidate 3 lines, manufacturing lines, and it's the building on Eastgate Boulevard, a 400,000 square foot building. They have come in and really just convert that building from warehouse distribution to manufacturing, so there's a lot of money there. But it is a good manufacturing, it's 245 manufacturing jobs, $60 million in personal property, average wage of $18. That's very much like an LW or an Orchid or something like that. Again, you know, I've already said 3 times, we may have pilot proposals that you guys have to consider at that point. That's, as it goes down the road, eventually we do that every time. Mayor, you understand that? Mayor, we talked about it 9 months ago, I guess, when this thing came up. Will the city participate in that? I got to get with you to see if you still have that on the table. But it's a big project. I think Project Shine is Lochinvar we still work with. They have done the parking lots. They are going to, you know, it's sort of spread out so many years. I get a call about every 6 weeks from some lady saying, I want to talk to you about the incentives. I email her back or call her back, then I never hear from her. The longer it goes, it may just not be something we participate in, because I don't get any inputs from those folks over there. A.O. Smith is doing it at a corporate level, but that project, you know, it's going to go on over the next 2 or 3 years with design, engineering folks coming in, more parking lots and all that stuff. So they are moving forward. Mr. Cato has a tentative lease on his building over at Maddox Simpson. Mayor Krieger has met with him several times. Mayor Krieger, I think you may have wandered through this group one time. Nothing, no pilots or anything like that. You know, if they come in and are successful, they will come back probably in a couple of years and be buying press machines and injection molding machines and all that stuff. But you know, right now we don't need to be doing anything. The other ones are active. I've taken off Federal Express. I don't know if there's anything that you need to bring us up to date.
Yeah, they're under construction out there on their mass grading. I've got a verbal approval from the city this week to allow them to move forward with their storm drainage installation and continue that mass grading process. Everything's clicking along. They've got the clearing done out there and ready to start shooting, blasting, and doing some material.
You're still working with the state on that $250,000 grant to do either water or sewer.
Right. The FedEx is asked to do it towards a water line that West Wilson Utilities require them to install. So we're revising that report that the state approved to allow for the water line.
Is this thing Freddie's gonna like us again?
Well, we're all good with Freddie down there. On the Eastern Connector, there is positive trends of saying that they're shooting to bid that in January.
Okay.
So that's definitely positive for the access to this development. Eastern Connector. Yeah. And they're saying that's going to be the full length that they're going to be bidding.
Who's bidding that?
Eastgate, back to the city, I'm not sure what it will be. They call it Eastern Connector now.
Golden Bear Gateway.
Parkway.
It's a road of many names. Golden Bear Gateway, Eastern Connector, Beckwith Extension, but our plans now reference Eastern Connector.
It's Clemens Road.
Reverse L, you know, whenever you want.
Just all the good deal.
Yeah, so that's definitely positive trends right there. If it's bid in January, they'll be.
You're not involved with SI at all, are you? With Federal Express and Under Armour? But there will be some signalization either on Beckwith Road or that one.
No, it's being proposed. It's being proposed for the east gate in Beckwith Road intersection right there.
So part of the TDOT grant for Under Armour is gonna do some signalization for on Beckwith Road there.
Yeah, I think the city put FedEx and Under Armour together to get those.
Yeah.
Because it was a signal participation requirement of FedEx, and they used it for funding purposes.
Today, the L&W Engineering, I spoke with the project manager the other day. They do have their building completed. They do have one of their big presses in there. Be operational January 1. Their second big press should be operational by the end of March. They have leased the building down at Eastgate, $100,000. They anticipate being again, they're taking a warehouse building, making manufacturing, so setting transformers, doing wiring, all that stuff. They think they'll be hiring folks by the third quarter of next year. So
That
they do have it.
intersection, they're gonna do a red light there, and
I saw you
spend
sometime.
about $1 million. The city's got a contribution of about 500, 600,000.
And that's on Briskin Lane at L&W going
About
over to
65
Canesville Pike. So there was some funds, TDOT funds brought on by an expansion project that we did a pilot for. Would the city been able to do that project?
No.
Without it?
No.
So,
Red light at Briskin Lane and 70.
Briskin Lane 70, and you know that guardrail they tear down every day?
Yep.
They're extending the culvert and then moving that guardrail back where less chance of being torn down.
did you say it lasted one day, one time? It lasted one day, one time on Tuesday?
4 hours.
4 hours. So, again, there's about $1 million project there brought on by something we have an existing industry grow, and some of that return dollars that somebody don't see. We do have a meeting today at 12 o'clock, today with the budget committee to go over the pilot program. We got a couple extra lunches. If anybody wants to show up, just let me know. But basically, Mayor Hutto is just go over the program and see what their concerns are and go from there.
So red light at Blair Lane as well.
Yeah, we've been working on that for quite a while.
It's good to go.
The engineering, I think they'll be bidding it, and hopefully this spring sometime. Hopefully get it.
When I need another, going to be in the house.
You have to get in line. There's a lot of them.
70 Briskin's red light. It's not finalized yet, but yeah, it's looking like it's gonna come there.
I did.
That's, we voted the council.
I was going to give an update if it's ready for.
I'm very wish you had any questions.
Talked to Dennis King yesterday, and he just gave an update, and he was, just had went over to the building and said, you know, it was exciting, looking good there, and they would start, they would have a legislative briefing that would invite you guys to let everybody know kind of what the building looked like sometime in December. Not really an open house yet, but just to kind of let everybody know where the money got spent. And that they would start 2 programs up in January. One would be a nursing program that a person could go in there and in a year's time come out with a practical nursing degree right out of high school, and an IT program that would be the same. In 3 months, the welding program would begin, but in July, what he was really excited about was mechatronics, which is will start out where a person could go in there and then come out there with a degree that could work for Siemens Corporation or some of those folks that you know, do all the electronic systems of heat and air and whatever. So he was excited about that piece. He did mention the LEAP grant, as you said, 400,000 and 500,000.
We asked for them in, whatever we get, those are the type of programs that it needs to go into, especially the welding, maintenance, mechatronics, and that stuff.
And I was at Watertown last night for a scholarship thing, and Jeff Luttrell said he had met with May and them and talked about things that they wanted them to incorporate in their school, and so we wanted to see several up there, 34, 50 students.
That's
So
great.
they would go. So I think it's a good hit. They're gonna dress up the entrance to where it looks more collegiate, he said. So,
Where's the front door? Is that the front door?
I think the front door's gonna be on Tennessee Boulevard. I think so, yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Any update on Next Salvation?
I think they're up to 600,000, money invested to do due diligence. And so, I mean, that's a pretty expensive ticket for somebody that's gonna back out, that still could back out. But, you know, where we're at, they have to come to us and give us what they're doing. And then we've got to go to sports council and then county commission before they can really move. Because they're not gonna move without the transfer of the bond.
But they are spending money, which is the good sign.
Yeah, 600,000.
Okay.
I
Thank
think
you.
that's where it's at right now.
Okay, thank you, Chief. Interesting, had a Rotary program a month or so ago, and the one that located in Watertown, medical,
Dysol.
they say that the reason they located here is Nashville Airport. They had to get close. Their main place that they distribute is Memphis, but Memphis Airport did not connect to the cities that they had their other places in. Nashville did, and then they got here, and then they wound up in Watertown.
I talked to her yesterday, somebody had called, how do you get in contact with her? If you've got people, at this point in time, she's just accepting resumes directly to her account. She will work with Career Center. She's ready to hire a couple of, like everybody else is, Class A CDLs. But they're not gone on weekends, they're their own trucks, I mean, they're the company's trucks. If you have people that you know along those lines that pull out of Watertown and be gone the road 2 or 3 days, but back on the weekends, she's ready to move forward. They do have a contractor, she's still trying to get some final bids from them, so there's no work done on the building, but she does own the building. So, again, 25, 29 employees over some period of time, taking a building that was not very nice and going to make a good investment. Got it, good deal. And so that's where they are on that project.
We'll back up now and do a financial report. Well, let's do the minutes first. We want to get in line, y'all have a chance to look at the minutes and show what y'all's pleasure.
Motion to approve.
Second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Okay, now then.
All right, we'll go to page 5. Gives you an overview of where we are as of the end of November. Down there, our total expense so far is 35.1%. Got a little more money till we're 50% through the year, so we're staying in line with everything. We've got a couple of small items creeping up on this equipment furnishings. I think we all know about that part. And you got dues and subscriptions, that's another minor item. And on down there as far as retirement, we're 67.8. Why are we running ahead on that?
I think I'm still having a liabilities account issue. I don't think something's allocating correctly. The auditors are gonna have to fix it.
Speaking of the auditor, Tammy still deals every week, every 10 days or so with the audit. So as they transition from one person over there to another, she stays here for a couple of weeks and then I don't understand what I ask or don't understand. So, I mean, it's nothing, no problems, just why do you do it this way and et cetera. So we're still working through that, so.
They're trying to convince us that they're earning their $4,000 fees. Pretty much what that means. That's the current state. We got a budget to go to next need action on current financials and spending reports also.
I'll only make one comment. You only see we're at 13% of our marketing program, but we've got half our wage survey, about $7,000 needs to be spent. We've got a major ad coming out that's another $6,000 or $7,000. We still got that $20,000 in that I'm beginning to work on the study. Those are obligated things, and that puts us about 45%. So it's not that, we got some things working I think we're right on schedule.
No problem.
Need a motion for approval. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Kind of short on movers and shakers. Might bring into discussion one thing on that financial report, and Tam and I talked about it a couple of months ago. This building's still for sale. And our lease has got another 1.5 years to run. Is that right?
I think it's a September next year.
September of next year. So it's got like 10 months to go on our lease. So, we may need to apply some thinking there as to where we want to go or what we want to do or how we want to be.
Well, you have no room for expansion here.
No.
So,
And you don't know what a new owner might want to do, especially when the lease is coming up.
Well, I'll tell you, the rent here is not excessive compared to others.
No, it's not.
You may want to look at a longer term lease on it because they've made one, I think, with one of the new tenants.
well, but you still don't have room for expansion.
What's back here?
The next office.
Does it go past that partition all there, or they go all the way around?
They go long ways back here and then that way. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then there's another one.
So there wouldn't be any expansion.
For being still around here, that would give you plenty of room. And I think it would do something good or whatever, but you do have the building in that sheriff's thing, what's over there?
Yeah, it's a lot of room.
What was?
The sheriff's.
Sheriff's, is that the
I
library?
think,
No, it's not
I
the
think
library.
Bradshaw and them have that.
They do.
That's just something we need to
Just,
not let sneak up on us.
And it's
Well,
some,
one of the things about this place is there's no
close to you.
utility.
We know what it is.
Well, I go off that part, too, but there's no utility bill here. Because it's one utility bill. So when you consider rental rates, that's just,
When they came back to us a couple of years ago and reduced the rent, in about 2.5 years.
but I thought because they were trying to sell it, they might be hesitant to do new leases, but, well.
May work the other way too, though.
They
It's
just
easier to
did it.
sell if you've got a
At least
long-term tenant
They
sometimes.
just did a long term with Brody Company.
Might be a good time to start negotiations.
And Tammy's done some of that.
you know, and our hopes are, if we can ever get an agreement on the land, is to build a visitor center out on the interstate. And would love to have this group as a part of that visitor center on the 3rd floor. And let whatever rent you're paying now be just paid the county towards that building, whatever that might be. If the city let them kind of help me
And that
get
would
that done.
That would affect the long-term lease.
You're not gonna do that for September.
Not for September, but I wish you'd leave a clause where you could get out of it in
Yeah.
case we get it done.
You think in a couple of years? Is that?
We've been working on it for 2 years. But, I mean, and I think for us, it was the right spot of land and the right partner, because it'd be more in the building than just a displacement. But it would be an attraction, we think, and a good gateway and a good location.
And if you look what Murfreesboro's done, you don't have a Taj Mahal like that, but it's, you jump off and their chambers there, and ED folks
It's on the
there.
same, it's on the same line. We wouldn't have the chamber there. We talked to the chamber, I think they want to stay on the square.
They just stay on the square.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that gives the life there, and you take the chamber away, you take away a lot of what we've accomplished over the last few years.
Put tourism and economic development.
It's,
And
we,
welcome some.
yeah, and we did incorporate a bicycle so that you could ride there. You could ride.
Was that a two-person bicycle, one to take them over, the chauffeur driven over?
Yeah, we could get a sidecar.
Sidecar bicycle.
Kind of like Barney had, I agree.
I don't want to get too far away from the legal counsel.
Yeah. Well, it's a way there. Let me ask one more thing, since we're fixing to get into budget. So, GC came over the other day and we talked about how we're going to address the pilot program budget committee work session today. What, you know, in my mind, what I would love to have, if we could have it, it would cost some money for somebody to do it. But for us to come in and examine all the jobs that Wilson County has today, what kind that we have out there, and what we need to be searching for. You know, because I have people say, hey, you don't have this, you don't have that, and I say, yeah, you do. You know, but as we get to this budget thing tonight, or this afternoon, you know, one of the things that they're going to say, well, what about this location? And we're ready for that part. But I think if we have a certain sector of jobs that we want, maybe our incentive program is beefed up or enriched to get that group here. And those that we have a lot of, maybe we're not as, you know, we have some variables there. But I'd love for us to be able to know what we have here as a whole and what we need. I don't know what company would do that or who could do that, but to me that would be.
Job survey, breakdown, division of breakdown.
Yeah, it will. I'll have
I
that,
thought
so
it did.
it'll be spring when that's ready.
Is that all the jobs in Wilson County though, or is that just the ones that participate with you?
Just the ones that participate.
And that's not the whole,
No.
It's more for how much they're paying, how much benefits are
I
on
mean, that doesn't give you every job we got here, because, you know.
No.
So, I mean, I think it would take a company, I don't know if one exists to do that, but it would just be good to know what we got and what we need to hunt for.
Is there a census report? Roll that into.
State manufacturers directory, broken down by state
I bet
industrial
TBA
codes.
can give it to us.
We may be able to generate some things that you look at it to see if that's enough. And then, after our discussion, I can go back to look at it.
You know, another component that ought to be evaluated with that is in-county and out-of-county employees.
We talked about that, I mean, you can do that, and they'll bring that up. There's a bunch of local license plates out there, but if it wasn't for other counties, our people wouldn't have jobs. Yeah, we gotta go out. I mean, we're in a decent shape right now. We're the third lowest unemployment rate.
4.8 tied for the third lowest.
But we don't have all those jobs here. We'd love for our people to stay here. I mean, that would be great for Watertown to have something so their people could stay there and revive that city. But, I mean, we can't function without going out and getting jobs, and we couldn't function without people coming here either.
Take a look at Under Armour, or 1,500 jobs. Our unemployment's 4.8, 3,500 people unemployed in the whole county. They wouldn't be here because they know 3,500 people, they can get 1,500 people there to work. When we talk to them, it's that 45-minute drive. And they expect that, to have to expand that market to get 150,000 unemployed in a 3 or 4 county area before they're comfortable being here. You've got to have that folks coming in here for those jobs.
And we've lost some because we didn't have enough employees to fill the employment. Or maybe even the right kind of employees.
And we'll see when you begin to fill 290 part-time folks, 1,000 folks for Under Armour in year 2 and 3. It's going to drive the wages up. They're not going to leave an empty building here. They'll pay more wages. So.
My thought behind that request was, if we bring people in to fill jobs here, they're adding to our tax base of commerce as they come into Wilson County. we don't have to build roads, educate them, or police their neighborhoods. So if we've got a fairly large percentage or more percentage of people out of county coming in and working, that was why I was wondering what those survey results would be.
Selling point to the finance.
That's where you really make your money.
And they argue just the opposite. I hate to give tax dollars to abatements, fly somebody else's job in Smith County. I mean, so that's what we're prepared for today. So we jump just the other way.
That's where the education goes, I guess.
Yeah.
It is.
Well, you did a good diplomacy job with the FedEx deal. I appreciate that.
I do too.
Budget.
All right, let's talk about budget. We request no increase in overall dollars for the budget, but we do reallocate monies that were in the program part of the budget into the personnel part. But we also get back up on top of our marketing number by a little over $10,000. And most of that comes from the line item we put in with professional recruitment initiative. So we're reallocating those dollars. Same proposal we gave you last month. Questions? Next move, we need to go to the full board with it. We're going to be in January. I would request a motion to make a positive recommendation to the full board for the approval of the budget.
Okay. Do we have that
So
one?
moved.
Do we have a second?
He just likes all the attention to be directed over here.
I think there's other things occurring.
I'll give a second so we can discuss it.
All right, and then discussion.
Call for the question.
I would just say, I believe that what we presented last month is appropriate and should be done that way. Anticipate to move forward and don't anticipate any personnel items beyond that. I thank you for your consideration.
Like I say, there's a lot more things that we could, this group could do in touch, but it's gonna take some additional personnel. And that's going to retail and business offices and all. I mean, you look at it, you've got 110 to date proposals coming in. That's a lot of workload on what we have here. And we're leaving a lot of meat on the table. There are possibilities in jobs and revenues and sales tax dollars and all, because we're not as aggressive on the retail. And even though we're working at it, but it just, when you have this many coming in, it takes up all their time. And personally, I've asked them to kind of look at some budget numbers and all a little later. I think we need to be looking at an additional person here, and then that way part of the focus and go toward retail. And that's why I have concern here. This is not enough. We're trying to stay status quo, but we're not being aggressive enough to go on out and get a better return. I think we're doing it wrong.
Of course, there's a lot, and I don't disagree with you, but the progress that we're making in bringing jobs is going to bring rooftops, and retail is going to follow rooftops. You know.
Yeah, but you gotta direct them. And
You gotta make sure that they know we've got them.
And we don't, it's either that, it's up to the cities, or why not do a unified effort and have it here and someone that's very knowledgeable of it and move on, and that can help Melchett, Watertown, Lebanon, and the county.
Well, I personally feel like that most of the effort should stay here.
Yes.
And I don't disagree, we need some more folks. But it just doesn't work for each little entity to go out on their own. I don't think.
Well, but then if we don't do nothing here, what do you leave us else to do?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. If we can't come together here and do something, it leaves us nowhere else to go but to go after it. So,
Those 110 projects, 100 of them are industrial, 105. I mean, Tammy does her retail things, but we don't really have retail projects. We don't work.
you got her tied down here doing things that, the additional person do to relieve them, so that you got a talent here, and we're not using it to go after the retail.
We came over this week and we've had a couple of meetings already, but I
I
appreciate
think
that.
that's worth looking into. Sure.
And we are.
Have you done some looking at the money?
And I'll tell you what I think, you don't you hire somebody that you want them to get the experience in a year or two, and then they'd be good enough to leave and be a good pick for some ideas and a little better background and talent, but they can also learn a lot under the guidance of these two.
Well, yeah, and I think that's one reason why we've set this budget is to be sure that we're paying what the job's worth, so somebody doesn't come in and cherry pick. But I think that would be a good thing for the future.
But that's where I'm at with this budget. It's not enough, personally. And we have reserves a little bit. We can, but just going back to cities and counties and all, I think if you got something, a solid plan to help bring in, white collar office buildings along with the retail and everything, it's a combination of it. We're getting all the businesses here, but you gotta have some kind of sales pitch and direction and person moving to go after these white collars and the retails and direct them. So, me personally, whatever that kind of the budget of what's needed for that, I would make an amendment motion that we include something of that to cover that.
So what you're saying, you'd add 50,000 in a position to this budget, and it would be split up proportionally by everybody to pay for it?
Some employees somewhere around the 40, 42, something 40, maybe, something like that, and then whatever's attached to that cost. Somebody that's very capable to work with be their back and support, but learn from them, but then also could be somebody you can give an assignment to and know that it's going to be taken care of. And somebody can deal with these groups and people and has that personality. So it's a lot to ask for, but I think that's where we need to go. So
Would they have room for them in the office here?
that's what I was bringing up a little bit. It's going to be tight, but we need to find somewhere similar to what you said, or somewhere else that you do have a room for that expansion. Just what I firmly believe in. So I make a motion to amend the budget to include that and see where it goes with the cities and county.
But we
You
don't
think
have,
50,000 is gonna pay $40,000 solid?
No, I don't think it will. And that's why I said if you got an idea of something like that, and then what you figure what your other component costs are. I don't know if you need. I think you'd be good in the other support stuff, but.
You were saying 42 to 45 in salary plus benefits.
40,
You're saying 50 is not enough to cover benefits.
Yeah, it's about 40. They're usually 40%, so what's 40, 10, 50?
Like 60,000 if you do the 42.
It depends on where you do it. If you're doing it on county-owned property, then for the expansion part of it, if you're doing it here or whatever, you got different costs that be involved in that part. But somebody's got to have some, they got to have mileage. They got to have go to meetings, they got, if they're gonna do more, you gotta be able to have the resources for them to go do it.
What we are doing is going through this budget, and if you got this amount of money in marketing, we go out and spend it every year before the year starts, and that's what Tammy and I are doing now, a little late, but,
Well, if you.
and making the emphasis in more retail stuff, but Mayor, you are, I mean, 40% of Tammy's time right now is administrative.
Yeah, and
Audits, checks, IT, and so we're not really getting, 100% out of a retail or out of a professional development recruitment.
So maybe we need to go back after the recommendation, and if we got time to wait a month, let you look at your staff and see what you want to pay that person, and how much the benefits are going to be, and what you need to add in
Let's come
for
back
travel,
next
and then
month
come
with some
back with a
options
figure.
of saying, we might do this, or we could add a person, or this is what the cost would be.
You know, it might be a good idea to present your budget to the budget committee at the county, the biggest hurdle, and then have addendum A that says, if you want us to move or create more efforts as to this particular area, retail, office, white collar, whatever, here's what we estimate the cost would be, and if you're willing to put it in there at the county,
And the cities.
then we'll work through the cities. The county in the past has been the one that's had the hesitation about increasing funding because they're under pressure for increasing, taking care of schools. And that's their big thing, so.
When do we have to spend our budget to the county, Tammy?
Personally, I would rather this,
Probably more.
I'd rather this group,
County? Yeah, we're gonna try to do it earlier this year, so. I'll shoot by March, so I hope so. We don't have to do
well,
it.
we're early here right now, so.
But
I personally think that if we, as this group, if we agree with what I'm saying, go on and do a budget that includes it and said, and show the budget of what it will be, and this is what this group supports and suggests that we do, because we feel like that the initiative will pay off tremendously for us, or something like that. As
Well, I agree
as
with-
opposed to a side thing.
I agree
The
with
side
that.
thing,
I would hate to do something this
that's a double
morning,
vote.
if we could,
We just
we
need to
we
defer
got
vote.
another month
Right.
that we could look at,
Yeah, let's just defer the vote on it.
yeah.
And to pay attention to the one-time expenditures, we might have some other sources of funds.
All right. January meeting,
we're not gonna be here January 1st. I don't know if you guys want to come or not, but
Well, I'll be over at the office if y'all want me to over there. Won't be far to walk.
Wonder what that hourly rate
They
is.
he parties that night, and he
Yeah.
just goes there, he just never made it home, that's what it was.
That's his story to stay with.
all right. Anything further? We be adjourned.
thank you.
All right, sounds good.
Send a little biscuit cards to Kenny and Mike.
Not the same place.
Second Thursday. Thank you, Tim.
So you gotta,
Use my
Have a
office
good day.
if you want to, Mayor. I'll use my office if you want to go.
Any